To Your Best Interviews. My name is Eric Smith. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. I know that there's a lot of places you can go to get this information, so I appreciate you spending it here with me. If this is helpful, please share with others. My goal is to help as many people as possible, and I can do that through you sharing. Today, what I want to talk about is how to answer really tough questions when you're not sure what the appropriate answer is, or when you get stumped on an interview question, and how to respond to that. So, my first piece of advice here is that is okay if that happens. I know a lot of people stress out about this. It's interviewing stressful in general, right? You're going in, you want a job, someone's evaluating you, you have to answer questions about yourself. It's a really uncomfortable situation as a whole. But I think a lot of stress comes from not knowing what questions are going to get asked and being afraid that you're going to be stumped, right? That you're going to blank on a question, which does happen, and that's okay. What I would advise you and what I would share is that is likely going to happen. No matter how much prep you do, there's a good chance you're going to get asked a question that you did not prepare for. And it might stump you in the moment, and that's okay. Don't let that be a barrier. Don't let that be an extra stress. Just accept that that might happen, and that's okay. How to navigate that if that does happen is the first thing you should do is really before the interview process, understand who you're meeting with, because that will really change how you're answering a lot of questions, or just give you a little bit more direction if you're not sure how to answer. So my example here is really just if you're meeting with a recruiter and they're asking you questions, there's a really good chance that recruiters don't know the ins and outs, the day-to-day of the role that you're applying for, because oftentimes recruiters handle a lot of different roles. Now, some recruiters certainly specialize and they just recruit for certain roles, so they know that role really inside and out. But what they're looking for is different than what a hiring manager is looking for. And what I mean by that is a recruiter is judged based on the pipeline that they build, the quality of candidates they're putting into that pipeline for the hiring manager. So when they're asking you questions, really, again, they don't know the ins and outs of the role. So when they're asking questions, what they're trying to base it off of is the job description and are you hitting all the buckets that the hiring manager wants to see in their pipeline of quality candidates, right? So if they're asking you a question, my suggestion is tailor a lot of your responses to the job description specifically. Tailor a lot of your experiences and how it directly relates to the role and why you're a good match to the role and the job description for that position. Because that's what a recruiter is really looking for is, are you the right candidate and should I move you forward in the process for a strength of pipeline? Hiring manager, owner, very, very different, right? They know the ins and outs, and really what they're looking for is A, can you do the job and excel at it? But B, are you going to be a good culture fit? Are you going to be an asset to the team? Are you going to be easy to manage, difficult to manage? So there's a lot of different, I guess, what the interviewer is looking for will really depend on who you're interviewing with. So know that before you go in. And if they ask you a question that you're not sure how to answer, that's okay. My first piece of advice is take a moment. It's okay in the interview, if they ask you a question, to take a moment and think about your response. And you can even say, that's a great question. Let me think about that. And then give yourself a couple seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds to gather your thoughts around it and then give a meaningful response. And even when you take that time, it's okay if you don't come up with the perfect response. But what you should be thinking about, and this is my second piece of advice, is think about what they are trying to gather by asking you that question. Right? So if they're asking you a question that you're not sure how to answer or it stumps you, you weren't prepared for it, take a moment and just quickly think, what are they trying to gather here? Are they trying to gather how I would process a situation, how I would respond to a situation, what my process in thinking would be, or what motivate, what they're trying to do is assess you as a candidate, right? And so take it to the higher level and really try to understand what are they trying to gather by asking me this question and how can I tailor my response to satisfy that, right? So I know that seems obvious, but it's so easy in the moment to get blanked and then to start panicking and thinking, oh, I'm not saying anything. This is taking too long. I need to come up with something to say. All this is taking time and it really throws you off. So my advice is it's okay to take a moment. And then the second one is just think about what they're trying to gather and answer their question the best way. A good example of this would be, if someone asks you like, what motivates you? Sometimes that can throw people off. They just didn't prepare for it, or they might say, "Hey, what motivates you outside of work? Outside of what you do on a daily basis? Like what motivates you as a person?" It's a personal question, but really they're trying to understand you. And so it's okay if you're like, that's a great question. Take a moment, think about it, but then think about what specifically or how you can answer that in a way that gives them confidence about you as a candidate on their team, and come up with the best response. What does motivate you from a professional setting, right? What motivates you to get up and be applying to the job that you're applying to stay in a career that you're chasing? What is that motivation? Is it that you want to work with top companies? You want to solve problems in a big way? You want to help people? There's a lot of different ways to answer that, but how you should think about that is, again, you're taking it to the highest level. What are they trying to gather from this question? In the motivation question, it's what drives you? What do you care about? Right? And then answer the question in the best way from there. Again, there's a lot of schools of thought around this. It's really just breaking it down. It's okay to take a moment and then think about what's the most logical response based on who I'm interviewing with, the recruiter, the hiring manager, the owner, and then give your best answer and move on. It's okay. It's okay if they ask you a question and you're not exactly sure how to answer it. Just answer it to the best of your ability. Stay calm and keep going. Good luck.